Good morning, everybody. We are in the middle of the week. And every time I'm thinking about this, I'm like, wow, this is December 16th. Can you believe it? We're almost going to be hitting Christmas. And then we're going to be hitting 2021. Yes, yes, yes. So, I was thinking about that and I said, okay, what can I give? Because, I always try to give some quotes before we even start the whole program. And I have a simple one, a really simple one. Stay positive. Stay positive. And I'm saying that because, as you know, life is here and it comes, and we all know what's going on this year. So I'm not going to keep repeating that because we all know the whole universe is dealing with this. But we have to flip it. I use the flip it method. If you think about some negative or somebody's coming to you charging out saying, well, and, the pandemic and I'm just tired. I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. Okay, yeah, we're all sick and tired of being sick and tired. We lost a lot of loved ones this year. A lot of things happened. People lost their jobs. I get it. The economy went down. But we have to flip it in order to move forward. So what I keep around me is little quotes for myself. So this particular one, if you focus more, it says, remember your why. Remember your why. And your why is your passion, purpose, and drive. What I always talk about, the PPD. Remember that. My why is to help empower, really women, but in general, I like to empower anyone to help them grow, to help them get exposure. So if I keep remembering that, all the other stuff around me doesn't really, it doesn't put too much energy with me. And then I flip to the positive, think about what impact I'm trying to make, and then move forward. So think about what impact you're trying to make. What impact are you trying to make? So with that, we are going to get started. I have that music next to me every morning when I wake up just to get me started and pumped. So with that said, I'm making this because I really want to get to Barry. He has some awesome information and tips and learning experience, anything that you want to call it for you. He's going to start a weekly series right now. So we want to make sure that we give him enough time. So let me get to our sponsor because they will start tugging me on the side. And then we're going to get right to Barry. Here we go.
I'm hanging on your every word, the love inside, I feel it burn. I've never felt this way before. I've had a taste, now I want more. So here we are, just you and me. I'm overwhelmed when you touch me. You talk so sweet, I hear the sound. My
Good morning. Good morning. I'll do it as my good friend says. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning to another Wednesday. Welcome to another episode of the Gem Hunter. I am a gemological storyteller. My name is Barry Mixon, and I am the Gem Hunter. Today, I'm going to talk to you about something that is vitally important on the level of air and water. And I think that if you begin to understand the importance of the subject that I'm going to talk about, then I know that it will change your life. And I'm not saying that that's not hyperbole because it happened to me. So as a former Chicago public school teacher, I would like all of you to take a moment to get a piece of paper and a pencil, because I think this is something that you really need to get. This is the beginning of an 8-week series talking about the power of storytelling. So I'll wait 10 seconds, wait for you guys to get a pencil and piece of paper as a good teacher should, and then we can begin. Okay, time's up. We live in a time where when I woke up this morning, I found out that now we're up to we have 2 pandemics going on in this country right now. I woke up this morning to over 304,000 people have died in this country due to the coronavirus, COVID-19. And now that we have the vaccine, I'm happy as a scientist. I'm happy that the vaccine has been created. This is a scientific revolution. Those of you who understand science and understand how vaccines are used, this is unbelievable. And you'll talk about it for many years to come. So eventually this virus will be defeated and we will go on with our lives. But the second pandemic is going to last a lot longer. We live in a country, we have millions and millions of people who are now unemployed due to COVID-19 virus, and we can get into the political things, but the whole thing is that we have over millions of people who are unemployed. I read the other day that 85% of the independent restaurants in this country, or at least I think in DC, will no longer exist because of this pandemic, which makes people, that's just restaurants, businesses, people who had business that dealt with the public on a consistent basis. Those businesses no longer exist because of this coronavirus. We have people losing their businesses, people losing their houses, people who are beginning to lose their minds because of what happened due to this pandemic. And the thing that people really need to understand is not only they're losing their mind, not just because of loss of financial income or loss of the changes in family, like being cooped up in the house, but most importantly, because now's the time to reinvent themselves. They have been doing whatever they've been doing, successful businesses. I can't even imagine what it would feel like to spend all my life, all my time into being a restaurateur. I built a successful restaurant. I had people coming in all the time, and now all that's gone. So now I'm sitting there with all these pots and pans and all the things that restaurant owners have and the consciousness, and that is all gone. So the only way, what I'm going to talk to you about today is one of the only ways I believe that you can take that step to reinvent yourself. And I didn't always know it. Those of you who have listened to my workshops before would hear me talk about the power of storytelling, 7 elements of storytelling. And what I really began to understand is there's actually 8. There's 8 elements to storytelling. Please write this down. 8 elements of storytelling. And I should have known it because in my workshops, in my seminars, I would always talk about it, but I didn't really understand the gravity of it until much later. And everything, even though I can't see you because of Zoom, I already know that all of you know this element. In my workshops, I would always say, tell me, how did the first story that your mother, your father, your grandmother, your uncle, your neighbor down the street, the babysitter, how did the first story that you ever heard in your life, how did it start? And I've gladly asked that question all over the world. So what I will say to you, without even seeing you, what I will say is that when I give you the answer, 99% of you will already know. Some of you are saying it right now. 99% of you already know the answer. And the 1% that does not know, it's only because you don't remember. So how did the first story that you ever heard in your life start out? It started out by once upon a time. Once upon a time. I've literally asked that question all over the world. In France, in Francais, it is il était une fois. Once upon a time. And I hope I was saying that my pronunciation was correct. Still working on that. Once upon a time. When you heard that we as human beings are genetically predisposed to understand once upon a time, when you were a little child, as soon as you heard your mother, Barbara, yes, mommy, once upon a time. Okay, you sat down because you was prepared for a story. You didn't know what kind of story. It could have been a funny story. It could have been a story that was maybe a scary story, but it was always a story that ultimately was supposed to teach you something. You were supposed to get something out of it, and that's why we use stories. But stories are part of who we are. In gemstones, and these are called tourmalines for those of you who wonder, these are tourmalines. So you can see they come in different colors. In gemstones, the once upon a time is called a unit cell. A unit cell is the beginning of a mineral. That is what the mineral structure of it is. In diamonds, I don't know if you can see this, a green screen, but a diamond is a cubic structure. So when you're creating synthetic gemstones, whether it be diamonds, especially emeralds, you take one seed of that and you build on it to make it whatever size gemstone you want. In human beings, it's called once upon a time. And I began to understand as I was saying it to people in presentations all over the world, I began to understand the power of once upon a time, because first of all, how could something be so ubiquitous? How could somebody in China, in France, in England, in South America, in Africa understand the same concept? Even with the language differences, once upon a time resonates with everyone. When you hear it, you knew a story was coming. Which got me to start thinking, if once upon a time is that powerful, then does it lose its power? And I started thinking, wait a minute. If once upon a time was the thing that all of us, we understand from a molecular level, we understand once upon a time. And the real power is that as we were children, our parents would give us that story. We didn't know where the story was going to go. We didn't know how the story was going to end, but it was our parents that gave us once upon a time, and we took it in. We took it in. We believed it. We believed in the Three Little Pigs. We got it. We believed in Goldilocks. We believed in Little Red Riding Hood. So what if, which led me to ask the question, if once upon a time is that powerful when we were children, why shouldn't it be as powerful, if not even more powerful today? Write this down. There's only 3 things that a good story does. There's lots of things that stories are involved in. There's lots of variations of stories, but there's only 3 things that a good story does. A good story is memorable. A good story calls you to action, meaning a good story makes you want to do something. And a good story, most importantly, a good story makes you want to, need to tell a friend. So when you begin to understand the power of being able to tell a story, then you can begin to understand that this situation that we are all in this country, or really all over the world, but let's speak about this country, starts with your story. What are you? When I look at a gemstone, the first thing I have to do is decide, what is it? What is the unit cell? What is the thing that makes it there? Once upon a time does that for you. And what makes it so powerful is that once upon a time is a time machine. It's literally our own mental and spiritual and even physical time machine that can go backwards or forwards. And as an adult, the difference between once upon a time we heard as children and once upon a time that we can utilize now as adults is that we create the story. Think about that for a second. When your parents told you that story, once upon a time, yes, mommy, they could have talked about anything. No matter what culture you come from, no matter what tradition, once upon a time, your parents filled in all the blanks and gave it to you. Now, as adults, you fill in the blanks. You fill in the story. You can create whatever story that you want to create. The characters that you want. You, and more importantly, not only do you understand the power of creating that story, but you can become whatever character you want to be in that story. You have to choose whether you want to be the hero or the victim. Whether you want to, if this is the end of your story because of COVID-19, or is it a new beginning? And I say this with no hyperbole because that's what happened to me. This month is a very emotional month for me because this was the month, December, that started my journey 29 years ago to homelessness. In fact, December 15th was the day 28 years ago, 29 years ago now, that I began to really take in the fact that I was homeless. Homelessness doesn't just, you don't wake up homeless one day. It's a gradual process. You can't pay your bills, you get kicked out of your place, you don't have any money, you don't have anything. And it's like a perfect storm. Something else happened, and something else happened, and something else happened. Then one day you wake up and you realize that the sun just doesn't shine anymore. It is dark all the time. So I began to read a book that I told you, some of you before, that saved my life. This is a book called As a Man Thinketh. This is the actual book. And then there's a part in the book that began to get me to think about the power of once upon a time in storytelling. Though your circumstances may be uncongenial, they shall not long remain so of you, but perceive an idea and strive to reach it. You cannot travel within and stand still without. Here is a youth hard pressed by poverty and labor, confined long hours in an unhealthy workshop, unschooled and lacking all the arts of refinement. But he dreams of better things. He thinks of intelligence, of refinement, of grace and beauty. He conceives of and mentally builds up an ideal condition of life. The vision of a wider liberty in the larger scope takes possession of him. Unrest urges him to action. And he utilizes all his spare time and means, small though they are, to the development of his latent powers and resources. Very soon, so altered has his mind become that the workshop can no longer hold him. It has become so out of harmony with his mentality that it falls out of his life as a garment, is cast aside. And with the growth of opportunity which fit the scope of his expanding powers, he passes out of it forever. And I used to read that each and every day, sometimes every hour on the hour, because especially when things got really bad, which when you're homeless, things are horrible every day. Because the thing that got me about that quote, and that's exactly, I know it, because that's how literally I have changed my life. Because what I got out of that was that it all starts from the way you think about it. And that's what made me understand the power of storytelling. The most important person that you have to tell a story to is to yourself. Once upon a time is a time machine because you could remember once upon a time you were wherever you wanted to be. Once upon a time you were good at a subject. Once upon a time you decided to open up that restaurant and you had nothing. You had a spoon and a pot and an old recipe that your mother gave you. Once upon a time, you were a struggling college student, and before COVID-19 happened, you had changed your life. You were, I always like to use this term, supreme commander of whoever or whatever you were in your business once upon a time. So if you take the concept of once upon a time and understand that the same way you believed in that story as a child, you can believe in that same story today, no matter what happens. COVID becomes the big bad wolf. Yes, the big bad wolf is horrible. The big bad wolf will eat up you and grandma. But ultimately, what is the end of the story that you created? People ask me all the time, how did you survive homelessness? One of the reasons why I survived is because I never thought of myself as homeless. I used to, in my mind, make believe that I was on I'm a big fan of National Geographic. I'm old enough to remember Mutual Omaha Wild Kingdom. And I used to, as a child, I know I'm really dating myself. Marlon Perkins used to be in all these exotic places. And I'm sitting here in Harlem, New York, watching this big black and white television, and here's this man going all over the world. And so I imagine that that's what I was on. I was on a undercover assignment, trying to study the inner workings of people that lived in the city or lived off of the city. That's what I did. And every day I would read that quote. I would say that quote to myself again and again and again, because the real power of storytelling is understanding that you can be whatever you want to be. I know we hear that as children. Oh, you can be anything you want to be. It's true. It's true. You have to create the story. And in the next 8 weeks, I'm going to tell you all 8 elements of a story. So, but today, it is once upon a time. Who were you before this evil thing, this microorganism called the coronavirus? Who were you before? And I understand that what you're going through right now, I'm not trying to dismiss what it feels like to not be able to pay your bills, or your car might be on the process of being repossessed, or you might be kicking out. I'm not taking that away. No, as I told you, I lived in a dumpster. Rats were my neighbors. So I'm not trying to say or dismiss the horror and the tragedy of what you're going through right now. What I'm saying is the way to get out of that is you have to begin to tell yourself a story. And that story begins with once upon a time. Who did you believe that you wanted to be? Who did you see yourself? Design your story. You become the director of your story. And you decide what props, what characters, what narrative, what theme that you want to have in your story. If there's a certain type of music, that's your background music that moves you forward in your story. Once upon a time, you can not only go backwards once upon a time, but you can go forward that same power. Whatever you did to get to where you were before COVID, those are the same characteristics that you need to move forward. If you were known for your perseverance, if you were known for your strength, if you was known for your single-minded focus to become that doctor, lawyer, engineer, you were the best bus driver for the Chicago Transit Authority and you lost your job. You were the best, I don't know, Mexican restaurant tour in the city of Chicago. That same power that you used to get to that point once upon a time is the exact same thing, the exact same characteristics, the exact same unit cell that you need to move forward. That's the power once upon a time. And our parents gave us this, whether they knew it or not. That's why they told us stories. So we could always have something to go back to, that we can always have something to remind us of who we were and who we want to be. So you have to sit down. My good friend and colleague, Iqbal Aksha, said in his show, talking about branding. You have to, before you decide what that brand is, you have to decide, what is your story? What do you want to be? How do you use the things that you learned? All the education that you took, all the power, all the music that's inside of you, those notes are still inside of you. That music that you hear in the back of your mind is still there. What are you going to do? You got to play a new song. Yeah, you had a hit record. You had a series of hit records. Now it's time to reinvent yourself. Now it's time to tell yourself, notice, not everybody else, you need to tell yourself a brand new story. A story that's going to be, and as you begin to tell yourself, you're going to start to say to yourself, wait a minute, I created that story before. Let me create a whole brand new story. You think you can tell yourself and tell your friends, you like that first story, volume 1? Barry Mixon volume 1 was good, but oh my God, wait till you hear wait till you read Barry Mixon and see Barry Mixon volume 2. You have to say, you have to feel it. You have to get excited about the possibilities. Oh yeah, I know right now you are deep in the middle of, as they say in the Marine Corps, deep kimchi. Oh yeah, it's hard. Oh yeah, it is so hard to believe, to reinvent yourself. It's so hard when you got bills coming up, the police knocking on your door, you're running away from different things. You're scared to open up your mailbox. Everything I'm saying, this is not just examples. These are things that I have experienced. So I know the challenges that is facing many of us. Some of us are going through right here, right now. The only thing I ask you to do is begin to consider the power once upon a time. Begin to consider what you can do. That power, whoever you are, it didn't go. If you knew how to play music before, play it now. If your gift was working with kids or building things, build something new. And the most important thing that you need to build is the thing that's inside of you. Think about what the book says. Very soon, so altered has his mind become. He didn't say that he got the homeboy hookup or he won the lottery or the government changed his policy. He said, so altered has his mind become that the workshop can no longer hold him. It has become so out of harmony with his mentality that it falls out of his life as a garment, is cast aside. And with the scope of power that reached the scope of his expanding powers, it passes out of it forever. You will get through this. We all will get through this. The real question is, who do you want to be once this is over? What story do you ultimately want to tell? Whether you're here for a day or you get to live a long, fruitful life, at some point in time, you have to make a decision. Who do you want to be? What do you want to, what is the sound that you want to create at the end of all this? Everyone, all those 304,000 people, the reason why we remember them is because they created a story. Maybe we don't know them. We don't know who they are from newspapers or television or radio, but the people who love them, the people who they were important to, they remembered their stories. How can we take their stories and the fact that they are no longer here? How can we take the things, the stories that they told us when they were here and expand upon that? Use that strength, use that power, use the fact of their lives to empower, make them a character in your new story. Share with other people because we're all in this together. We're all in this together. What does it look like? What does your story look like? Ask your friends when you tell your story or tell what you used to be. Sure, you can say, okay, yeah, I used to be this. Or you can say, I used to be this, and I'm going to take that same music. And I keep going back to music because that's what it feels like inside of you. You hear the music in your head of who you are. That's your unit cell. That's your mother telling you once upon a time. That's your grandmother, grandfather telling you a story that they told you that story because they wanted to not just entertain you. They wanted you to be able to use that story later on in your life. Many of us, that's how we got to be who we are today. It's because someone told. In fact, everything that you've done in your life, you got there because someone told you a story. Someone told you how valuable you were. Did you lose your value? If I take any of these gemstones and put it in the mud, put it in a dirty mud, and you take this beautiful yellow stone, I'm sorry, I'm blocking it, this beautiful yellow stone, and I use that, and I put it in the mud, and I covered it in the mud and everything else, does it change its value because it's dirty? Because it's in the mud? No, it doesn't. A diamond is still a diamond no matter where it is. That's what gemology is. What is it? Maybe you don't find it in Tiffany's. Maybe it's in a flea market, but that story still exists. So what is your story? What is your story? What was your story once upon a time? And what is your story today? What do you want your story to be? Get mad about it. Get angry about it. I've decided that I am 60 years old and I personally am not, I've been through too much craziness in my life to let a microvirus, a microorganism take me out. No, I'm not going out like that. So the COVID-19 is the antagonist for me. That's the monster that I have to overcome. So I leave you. So next week, we will talk about the second element, which is sound. And I really hope that all of you can attend because that is the beginning of the first step, the second step, actually, to creating your story. So thank you so much. Enjoy your day and begin to think about once upon a time, who were you and who did you want to be? Voila. Barbara.
Thank you, Barry. Always appreciate you, and we will see you next Wednesday.
Thank you. Thank you.
He always just brings out so much life when he talks about your story. It's so important. So important. That's I was talking about earlier about what's your why. I mean, what is your story? What makes you you? So please, he's gonna have this series going on every week on Wednesday. So tune in. You gotta tune in. So with that, let me take us to a small sponsor, and I'm gonna get right into this awesome lady that's coming on next. So let's just do that really quick so we get right to her. makes you just want to sleep, doesn't it? Just like that little soothing music. But that's Deity Body. I'm telling you, buy that young lady's product. She's very young, but she has her own business she established, and I'm so proud of her. And like I told her, I'm glad she's one of my sponsors on the show. And like I said, buy. I think I'm going to buy some. I'm going to bring in her products and start showing it and put it on my hands so you can really see what it's all about. So with that said, I want to get right into my next guest. This woman, I met her just a few months ago, but it seemed like I've been knowing her forever. You ever have those people that you meet and you click and you be like, I like you. You a power woman. We got to come together. We got to talk and we got to collaborate. Find those people in your life. It is so important when you find those people in your life because it's a nice thing that you can have a person or other people in your life that's honing in and being that positive and doing the same thing you're trying to do to move forward. But the caveat of that is to help each other. If you know somebody that could help them out, or if I can help them out some kind of way, help each other move forward. And this important person, Laura Armstrong, she's coming on. But before that, I just want to do a quick intro for her, and then we'll get right into meeting this wonderful expert. Yes, lady.
How are you?
How are you doing this? Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning. Best day ever so far.
Yes, best day ever. I always tell people every day because if you wake up, that's the best day ever.
Absolutely. Life's too short. We wake up every day. It's a chance to start over and create more. So let's do it.
Let's do it. Let's do it. So Laura, like I was saying earlier, we met with another connection. And, I just, first of all, Lachelle, she's just awesome. And Lawson Aikens.
She
And
is.
the super mom. Oh my God, 50 children. But I just, every time I think about that, I said, what? No excuses for me. No excuses for Barbara.
Yeah, exactly.
But then we met and you were on the Diamond Spotlight interview that I did for you. And, we've been collaborating with some other things behind closed doors. And then we've seen each other on Global Women. It was like, and then I was like, there's Laura again. Oh my God. And then, we started talking a little bit more. And then I asked you to be on this show as well, because I just see that you just have so much. Oh, you just do so much for people. And, you're a leadership accelerator, communicating expert. I mean, you have your own show. So just kind of give us a little bit flavor what you do to the audience.
Sure. Yeah. I love what I do, and it's really interesting. In the last 8 months, I was doing this every day, but I wasn't doing it to be seen.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I wasn't willing to be seen. So when all of this happened, everything had to shift for me. And, honestly, if I think back about it, it's been about 10 years that I wanted to make that shift and be willing to be seen and become influential so I can help people step into their power. Right. And I've been stepping into my power for so long that I was just doing it every day. And I wasn't really seeing it as something special until someone actually brought it to my attention. And, it's funny, like I teach martial arts as well, right? So, I could tell my students something over and over and over again, but when they go to another teacher and they say the exact same thing, they get it, right? And you're like, what, like you need to hear it from someone else sometimes, right? It's just the way it goes. So I really stepped into it and decided that I was going to create a brand that was going to not only help people step into their power, but their leadership and their communication success, because communication and leadership actually work really closely hand to hand. So I thought, what can I do to create more for people here? So I started setting up online courses. And I don't really use the word coach because I feel like it's an overused word. What I offer is very special. And so it gives you an opportunity to not only learn how to step into your leadership, But if you're already a successful leader, find out what's getting in the way of you not hitting that next level.
Yeah.
Okay. Very key. And then on the communication side of things, teaching you how to use communication every day by speaking to the values that are important to people when you interact with them. And, because we're not face to face right now, that can still be done virtually, watching what they're wearing, what their background looks like, how they speak, actively listening, something that I had to get really good at because I was very action oriented. I wanted to be the center of attention, right? It's okay to be the center of attention, but make sure everybody else is right there beside you, right? So yeah,
Right.
so that's a little bit about me, and I just continue to move forward. My vision for that and my mission is to step into it on a global level. So whether I'm on this earth or not, my ideal of whatever it is that's going to change humanity will continue on, and that's my big picture.
Yes, it's so important, like you said, Laura. I love what you said about creating that impact that on this earth now, getting all that here. So then after, like you said, when we move forward, when we move on, you and I, and we all
Yeah.
do in life, that it's still there, that it's helping move other people forward. And I think that's the biggest thing. And that's what I'm always concerned about. I have to say, for me, when I'm doing anything, online or with my brand, I want to make sure that it's going to be a lasting and positive impression to help others, to help others.
Absolutely.
And I see that in you. You do, like I said, you do so much. Now, I wanted you to get a little bit into, because I basically went to a few of the seminars with Bank, understanding, a person's personality. Can you get a little detail with that and explain to people what that's about?
Sure, absolutely. So BANK is the communication methodology that I do teach. I am one of their trainers and coaches. There's probably only about 180 of us in the world. So it's really, we need to get the message out there. What I love about this company, just as an overview, is their mission is to connect and empower humanity. Like, who does that, right? So right away, I was attracted to that. And really, BANK is a personality assessment. Like, I'm sure you've done lots of those, and they're all great. Like, there's no downside to any of them because they tell you a little bit more about yourself. And understanding yourself is key to understanding where you want to go in life. But what I loved about BANK is it was actually reverse engineered to teach you how to speak to the values that are important to people. So again, BANK is an acronym where we've divided up the 4 personality types: the blueprint, the action, the nurture, and the knowledge. Okay. And I'll give you a little insight about each of those. But what I loved about it and why it was different is it can actually be applied to your business and your life. I mean, once I learned this, my relationship with my husband changed in 2 days. Oh my God, right? It's like, he is the opposite of me. And I realized that. And like, he'd want to go into this big, convoluted, explanation and process about things. I'm like, dude, just give me the answer. Right. And he's like, and he could never understand why I didn't care. Right. Like, to him, but he needed to go through his process. So what I understood is he was a blueprint and I was an action. I was willing to jump off the cliff and see if there was water underneath. He's like, hell no. He'd be like, I need to check the tides. How high is the cliff? Are we walking up there? And I'm like, oh my gosh, kill me now, right? So once I understood all of that stuff about him, our relationship got a lot easier. And so we made a plan about him having to go through his process to give me an answer. Go do it, come back and give me the answer, which is all I required. And, we've taken this into our marriage, right? So originally this was developed as a sales tool, and it's so great as a sales tool. It can really boost your business up to 300%. And, you can actually get your clients to predict their buying behavior in less than 90 seconds. So in 90 seconds, if I know your code, I know exactly how to talk to you to get to the yes, have a better relationship with you, and actually have better communication in general. So it is like learning a language. So the 4 basic personality types are the blueprint. The blueprint is someone who is very organized. They love structure, systems, processes. They love reliability. They really feel like everything has to have a predictable way of going about things, right? When I say to you, rules are meant to be, what do you think, Barbara?
Well, for me, rules are meant to be. Sometimes I like to break the rules.
Okay, that's exactly how I feel. But for a blueprint, rules are absolutely meant to be followed. Okay, they are completely inside the box, and there's no room for them to be outside of the box. So, when you're talking to the person, keep a very even tone in your voice, keep calm, and make sure that if you do nothing, do not be late for the appointment. Okay. They will not only take offense, they will not probably give you the business, because for them, time is money, and you don't respect them if you don't respect their time. So if you're meeting with a blueprint type personality, you're going to be able to identify them because they look very clean in what they wear. They're very professional looking. And in the past, they would have shooken your hand when you met. Okay. Very formal greeting. A lot of these people, a lot of blueprints are like people in government jobs, people in uniform, insurance people who are high up C-suite level in companies, because they need those organizational skills to make things run. So second code is the action. These are your movers, your shakers, your millionaire makers. It's like they drank Red Bull for breakfast. They look good. They love being seen. They love being heard. They love the spotlight. They love opportunity and excitement. These are the easiest people that you can sell to, because if it's a great deal and it's limited time offer, everything has to be limited time offer for them, they will go for it, no question, because they do not want to miss out. You also, when working with them, they're very picky who they work with. You need to look good and look very professional and, very well put together. That's very important to them. They love wearing name brands. That's another way you'll be able to recognize them. Actions are completely outside of the box, and they don't need all those rules and structures. In fact, they push against them, so they're ready to go. And they're probably having a really hard time right now because they love being outside and about and interacting with other people, being social. It's killing them to be inside, right? So yeah, that's a little bit about the action. They love the high five for the greeting, or hey, what's up? Yeah, they're all about the fist bump, right? The next code is the nurturer. These are some of the most loving and kind people that I know. They are the sunshine in your life. They love, their currency is not in money. Their currency is in people. So they would rather help people than make money. Okay. You want a ton of these people in your corner because they're your best referral source. They love community. They love relationships, being authentic. These people will know if you're pulling one over on them, and make sure you look them right in the eye, because they'll know if you're not being 100% honest with them. Okay. I don't know what that meter is, but boy, they've got it like 150%. So you better be straight up when you're talking to them, and they will do anything for you. They will help you as much as possible. They love charities, community, everybody around the campfire. If you want to upset a nurturer, leave them out of something. They'll totally feel, they'll be so offended, so we always talk about what the personality traits are that you want to watch for, but also watch that you don't leave them out of things. These are your huggers. They're also having a really hard time right now because they can't touch other human beings. It's killing them, right? So, just give them like a virtual hug over the line if you want to connect with them, or just really look at them deeply in their eyes and say, I really miss you. That's another way to do it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they're fabulous people, and, just so amazing. The last acronym is the knowledge. The knowledge are people who are some of the smartest people I know, as the word knowledge says. So these people they're not inside the box, they're not outside, and they certainly didn't recycle the box. They probably engineered the box. These are some of the people who are probably going to create, the virus, the vaccine for the virus. They are at the cutting edge of tech. They are your IT guys. So, the one thing about them is that they love learning and education, and they are extremely intelligent. They want to be at self-mastery at what they do, and the expert in their field. They will not suffer fools, and they don't like idle chit-chat. They're the people who don't like to be touched, right? So you ever go in for the hug and people are like, yeah, I'm not a hugger. Yeah, that's a knowledge person. And the other thing about them is they're going to ask you a ton of questions. That's a dead giveaway, because to them, it's not because they're trying to upset you or give you a hard time. They just can't make decisions because they don't have enough information. So you need to go out there and give them all the information they need so they can go away, make their decision, and come back and book that time with them, because they will book it with you. They just can't make a decision right away. A lot of the time they have analysis paralysis, right? They're extremely competent. And when they're asking you about something you do, you better have your knowledge. You better know what you're talking about, because they're going to figure it out in less than 30 seconds. They're wasting their time. Okay. And they will not suffer fools. One thing I can't stress enough with them, when you look for the knowledge person, they're very relaxed in their dress. They're not necessarily formal, but you know what? Their people skills are not as up to par as other people because they are completely focused on what they're learning. They could be going to school for the rest of their life or, doing online courses. They're loving it right now because nobody's bugging them. Okay. They are on their own. They can go on as many online courses as they want. They are loving it right now. So
This is like their
yeah,
world.
they're the only ones who love it. Right. It's just something to keep in mind. So that's just a little bit about each of the 4 codes.
Well, Laura, thank you so much for getting into each one because like I said, when I first went to one of the seminars, another friend invited me. And first of all, I'm so glad that you are one of like the teachers, the presenters that does this
Yeah.
because I feel like it's so important when you start to understand somebody's bank code. I know people are like, okay, they're going to get used to hearing that a lot now, that you can understand how to work with them, how, like you said, how to respond to them, how they can respond back to you if they know your code. It's just a whole, oh my God, if people knew everybody's code, this would be a whole different type of world. I mean, right now my code is ANKB.
You have the
So
same code as I do. No wonder we get along.
that's why we get along. So
Yeah.
I mean, I'm action. I love the nurture. I'm always talking about exposure, helping everybody out. The knowledge part of it. I'm always looking, to get more knowledge on what I do. And then the blueprint is kind of the last on the list. I do like organization, but then I don't let it get to me so much where it's gonna, get to other things. So, and I'm just glad that you explained that to everybody because I think that's important. And I do want to kind of do this like a teaching series I'm just throwing this out now. Me thinking now real quickly, and maybe
Yeah.
me and you can work on that, and you can come on a few other times and just do like a little mini series or something like for it.
Yeah, absolutely. I love teaching about bank because I've seen it change so many people's lives. I've been helping like counsel marriages, right? Like I'm not a marriage counselor, but I'll find out what the 2 codes are and what the issue is, and then I tell them why it's happening. And if you want to solve it, you need to do this.
Mhm.
And the other level to bank that we don't even get into until after we do some training is we have a coaching program that actually focuses on the intelligence, like emotional intelligence. So if the codes are in a lower, not so high in emotional intelligence, the behavior is one way, but if there is higher emotional intelligence, the behavior is completely different. Right. So there's
Mhm.
another level to that training. So yeah, I'd be happy to come on and do a series about it. I don't think we can educate people enough. It's so important.
It
Yeah.
is so important, and that's one reason why I wanted to bring you on and get people to know who you are because
Yeah.
I love that concept of it, and you bring so much. You just make it so understandable. You take it in little pieces, and I'm like, see, that's what I like. That's how I learn. So thank you so much
Yeah.
for expressing that to us. And like I tell, like we just said, Laura's gonna be coming back. We said it. It's
Watch
on
out.
video. Laura, can you just let everybody know how to reach you real quickly? Because I want to make sure, if they want to talk to you one on one.
Sure. Yeah. Check out my website at www.leadershipwithlaura.com. You can send me an email there. If you want to book some time with me, you can email me at laura@leadershipwithlaura.com as well. And I do have a Calendly link. So if you email me or message me, I will send you my Calendly and you can book some time with me to chat. I love meeting people. I love hearing about what you do and about you. And I can't wait to help you succeed, whatever that means to you.
Well,
Yay.
thank you, Laura. Yay. I'm so glad that we partnered up and
Me
collaborating.
too.
So
You're amazing, Barbara Beckley. People don't even know.
I'll give you a hug, a virtual hug,
Yeah. Bring
like you
it.
said. We
Cool.
appreciate you. And like I said, you have a nice rest of your day, and we will see you soon.
Thanks so much, Barbara.
Thank
Everyone,
you.
take care. Thank you.
I told you, I bring in people that are amazing. And Laura is another amazing lady that I met. So you heard it. She's going to do a few little sessions here. And I'm so glad she is. I'm so glad that she agreed to that. Because like I said, when I first went to one of the seminars for bank, it really blew my mind of how when you understand each code, like it's called bank because it's BANK, when you understand each one, that you can start understanding why other people act the way they do. She was talking about her husband. I was thinking about it. I said, if I would have maybe had that bank before I separated from mine, just maybe, we would have got along a little bit better. But that's past. So I'm not even worried about that. I'm moving forward, like they say. So with that, it's so important to understand a person because that's how you understand what their why is. Going back to the PPD, their purpose, passion, and drive. And then you understand how they operate and they understand how you operate. And then we can start getting along better. So we know what things to say. You know what things that might be like, that's the reason why they this way because they're a blueprint person or they're an action person. So with that, I want to another day, Wednesday. We will be back on Friday for the next show with Madeline and another special guest that's coming on. And like I said before, like I always say, stay positive no matter what the situation is. Stay positive. Flip it. Do the flip it method, as I call it. Think of something in you that you're trying to inspire to move forward and create that impact. And then all the stuff around you won't be so much energy. The more energy will be coming out of you, more so than the energy is coming towards you that's around you, that are the storms and the earthquakes and the pandemic and everything that's going on right now. So always keep, as I always say, always keep shining with your diamond factor that's in you. And we will see you on Friday. Bye.